So today we are going to be looking at getting and succeeding at interviews. Getting and succeeding at interviews. So just because you can do a job doesn't mean you can get a job. All right? Because there's a selling and a recruiting process in between you doing the job and getting the job. So this is entitled Getting and Succeeding at Interviews. If you are unemployed, you need to make a job of getting a job as a Christian. So 2 Thessalonians 3:10, for even while we were with you, we gave you this rule. The one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. So sometimes you have brothers or sisters that think it's cool not to be able to work. And they go, this is really great, I can live like an intern and things like that. That is not it. The Bible's very clear. To the point where if you don't work, you don't eat. And we know that brothers really like to eat, and some sisters too. And so if that is the rule, guess how quickly you will get a job. The truth of it is, in many third world countries, that's exactly what happened. There is no, there's no money to help people out, etc. So really, this is, remember the scriptures are a world. The Bible's written for the world. So if you do not have a job, look for a job for 40 hours a week, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, be desperate. So if you're in a household, that brother or sister needs to leave with you and go to work, all right? Not be at home. The disciples need to love to work. God expects us to work just like Adam, the first man. Genesis 2:15, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. All right? And actually, fact, when man fell from grace, then he said, not only will you work, but it's going to be really hard work. All right? Lazy people become a burden to others financially and emotionally. Proverbs 18:9, one who is slack in his work is brother to one who destroys. So unfortunately, some of us have been in situations where you have somebody in a household, and we go, oh, well, I don't want to be too mean. This is the truth. In our society in Sydney, you can sell cupcakes and make a living of $400 or $500 a week. It's really hard work. You compete and pull in. The experts are selling water to pay their rent. Yeah. And that's what we need to demand from the people in our church. They go, well, I don't like doing it. That is the point. Go get yourself a real job. Yeah. Okay? But we are experts at raising money from selling things like that for special contribution. So if somebody in your house cannot pay rent, you go and get them to do that. I know when Emma, before she left, said, I need some money to buy the initial ingredients. I gave her $50 from my wallet. She went and bought some ingredients, and she went off and sold, and just like the parable of the talents. I really appreciate that. So there should be no excuse for anybody ever not paying rent. All right? If they don't pay rent, unless there's a medical issue, you put them on notice. They go out and work. Otherwise, they can move into a hostel. Okay? Do not use doing the ministry as an excuse to not get a job. It's not an either-or, all right? It's work and do the work of the ministry. Never stop applying for jobs. So this is one of the things that people, I'm in a good job, so I don't need to apply for a good job because I'm in a good job. That's actually not how building a career works. Yeah. You may have a good job, but always be looking for a better one. If you get an offer with $20,000 more and you like where you're at, this is basically the best way that you can negotiate a salary rise. So Jeremy's story about, he was looking for a job, although he was happy in a job. He got one, went back to his work and said, hey, I've been offered $25,000 more. And they went, okay, well, we'll give you $25,000 more. So some of us, we're not bold enough to ask for a pay rise, but hey, well, look, these guys are offering me more. What can you do? You don't need to leave your job, but it puts the pressure on them in a very natural way. Okay, so you should always be looking for that. You do not know how good the jobs out there are until you look. So in my last 3 recruitment jobs, at the end of leaving every company, they went, you shouldn't go to that company. I've heard bad things about that company, and they won't give you a career right and everything. Because everybody wants you to feel like their company is the best or their job is the best. Every company I went to, the last company said it won't be good, and every company I went to, it was far better. Okay, so you go, well, I think I'm at the maximum paying, all right, or the maximum of this. You don't know that because you're not an expert in that field. So keep looking for jobs again and again and again. I've had the privilege of recruiting some really wild and wacky jobs. I remember the council in Brisbane decided that they needed a call center, one person in a call center, okay, to answer on one part of their website, if you have an inquiry about this, all right, you must call this number. Said, has anybody ever looked at that part of the website? No. But politically, for the correctness, we feel like we need to do it. So I was employing somebody for a call center. They were never allowed to phone out, and nobody ever phoned in. So the job was to sit there. So they could have done degrees, they could have done anything they wanted. There are jobs out there, you go, that just sounds silly. Yeah, there's some really silly jobs. Jobs of counting how many whales go around the coast. That was a job, okay? Walking in, this is one of the most high-paid jobs. Walking in sewerage tunnels to make sure there's no cracks. Super high-paid job, super high-paid. You don't know any of these jobs, but because you don't look, because you spend your whole day not looking. So always seek a role with the most money without compromising you seeking God's kingdom first. The more money will help you reach out to more people with generosity, as well as ease life challenges. And let's be honest right now, with the rising costs, life can be challenging. Luke 16:9, Jesus says, I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourself, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. So there is an expectation here not to be wealthy to line your pockets, but to have wealth so that you can help people and, buy them coffees as you study the Bible with people, maybe help people get to the conference or whatever it is. Seek a role that can help you spiritually. One that allows you to work in an open plan office with many people to give you more evangelistic opportunities. So depending where you're at in life, if you're single, you may go, I really just want to work in an open plan office with 100 people there, and it means I can build lots of great relationships. On the other hand, maybe you want one that allows you to work from home to give you more flexibility if you have kids. So you've got to think about where your life is at. One closer to home with benefits. Never stop being ambitious. So again, when I was looking with Jan yesterday about these jobs, call centers, there was one that said, hey, work from home full time. He's like, well, that sounds pretty cool. Because what does that give you, like 2 extra hours a day or something like that? But don't be satisfied with mediocrity in your career. Okay, there's always better jobs out there. Point 1, getting interviews. Luke 5, verse 4. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch. Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that the nets began to break. So here is Simon going, I've tried to catch fish, or I've tried to get a job, I've tried. And Jesus goes, man, throw your net deep. Go deep. So apply for every job you can, all right? That's what you have to do when looking for a career. Just throw it out there deep. Throw your nets deep into the job market. If you see a job you want, apply for it. Do not listen to the insecurities of why you will not get it. Leave room for God's work and apply for it. So this great job that Pete's going for, he goes, I went for this job, I'm not qualified for it, and I've got an interview. Well, we go, I'm not qualified. So just because it says 2 years experience, must have 2 years experience, or a certain qualification, does not mean that person who gets the job will have it. So as a recruiter, we would go and visit a company and goes, they've got to have 3 years experience. They've got to. I won't receive anybody else. And then I send somebody with 6 months experience. Oh, I really liked him. He likes the Broncos. I'll have him. And so the job description they give you and that the person they actually employ, completely different sometimes. And they go, well, I can trade. I trust him. I reckon, I trust him. And so by you going, no, it says 2 years, you're stopping yourself getting an interview. Let them at least be the one that rejects you, not you. Often the best jobs have the least people apply for them due to people's insecurities. So I would have jobs on my job board as a recruiter, and some would be managing directors, 250,000, and they get receptionists. I get like 1,000 applications for receptionists. People go, I can do that. And none for the managing directors. The better the job, the fewer people apply, because most human beings are incredibly insecure. So then if I have a managing director's job, and I've got like a sales manager, I mean, he's way off on career. I'll go to my client and go, you know what, I've got nobody, but I've got a sales manager. He goes, really? That's all you've got? Who is he? Send me his resume. And that's how it works. So if the world understands that, how much more should we throw our resume deep? You know, James got a job as an IT manager. He sings. Love him dearly. He went to music college. All right, how'd you get that, mate? What do you, like, I don't care how he got it as long as he gets it. He got it through his father. What does that tell you? There are people in all sorts of jobs. The first recruitment job I had outside of hospitality, and this is what made my confidence go up. I would meet senior managers, and I would go to them, and I'd be taking job descriptions. And honestly, some of the managers in these companies that I got jobs, I went, you are no way qualified for your job. And I was just like, how on earth did you get that job? And then you notice that his last name is the same name as the owner of the company. And I was just like, people don't get jobs because they're qualified. Often they get them because of who they know. Now, there are a lot of people that do get them because they're qualified. Apply for at least 30 jobs online a day. You know what? That'll take you about 10 minutes. Okay, it's not a lot. If I was desperate for a job, it'd be 300, 3,000, whatever it is. It does take consistency, daily consistency, or at least weekly. Now, here's an interesting. Say you've got a job. I just don't have time for that. You can go into search engines like Seek. You can set up your profile, and then when you look for a job, there's a button that goes, send me jobs like this. And I think you can do it 5 times. So every morning in your email, you will receive jobs. So if you go like manager directors, they will send you relevant jobs to you. So you just go, looking, and I think you do it 4 or 5 times. So these search engines will actually do it for you, and then all you have to do is reply. Wow. So there are so many ways that you can be constant in there. But the other thing you can do is it makes you aware of your competitors or clients. You can say to your boss, hey, I see they're looking for a project manager on this or on that. Understand how online recruitment works. Apply for as many jobs as possible to get your resume on as many databases as possible, even if that job is not relevant for you. So if you want to be a project manager in a company like Tees, and they're looking for a receptionist, send your resume to that, because now your resume is on the Tees website. All right? If you want to do, I'll use construction, but if you want to be in construction and a construction recruiter is advertising, doesn't matter what job it is, you apply for it even though you're not relevant to it so that your resume gets on their database. Okay, so you've got to understand that you've got to apply for as many jobs even though you're not suited, just so you can have your resume on the companies you want to. Your resume goes on an in-house database that people search on to fill their jobs in the future. So in that way, the more people you get your resume with, the more while you sleep, your career is being developed. Use as many ways as getting a job as possible. You know how we go retro. Okay, so everything was on a cassette, vinyl, then cassettes, then CDs, now everything. But now people buy vinyls again. Why? Because it's sort of cool. Handing out a nice paper resume is rarely done anymore. So it's a little bit retro, and people go, oh, that's unusual. I'm going to read that. So send your resume to as many friends as possible, relatives, university job boards, whatever it is. Use Facebook to post your resume. Again, you have so many people on Facebook, you go, hey, I'm looking for a job. So I've got my dreams at the moment, which is a camper van, which I'll never buy, but that's my dream. And anyway, but as I look at them and I go, I'd love to be in Cairns right now on my camper van. But they have these people going, hey, I'm in Cairns. I'm looking for a job for 6 months' work, etc., on a camper van website. Wow. Does that make sense? So we've got all these Facebook groups we're a part of. Are you advertising on your Bible Talk meetup group? Are you advertising on this? Use Facebook to post your resume. Physically put a notice on your local supermarket board or university boards. So where you go like, I'm looking for a house, but Coles have these notice boards. Go, I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for this. Get out there and meet people with your resume in hand. Get to speak to the person who hires. Go back at the time when they ask you, I really want this job. Well, when's the manager in? Does he do the hiring? Oh, well, it's not until Saturday, and then you go back and get the job. So you're getting far more targeted here. Walk into companies and speak to senior hiring bosses. If you want to meet a senior manager, be bold. Connect with them early in the morning in the car park. I'll talk about that in a second. But Proverbs 28:1, the righteous are as bold as a lion. So in business, I used to do this. So in order to do business with a company, you have to get hold of the right person. And often you have what's called, shields or blockers, which is the receptionist. So I go, hi, it's Joe Willis from such and such recruitment. I want to speak to the managing director. I don't want to speak to any recruiters. Okay. So I'd go to the car park early in the morning because most good managing directors get in at 6:30 or 7. Okay. And they'd come in and they have the expensive car. So I just wait in the car park. And they get out and they walk into the office. And so I get out and I walk alongside them and say, morning, mate. Like this. Well, what are you here for? You're a bit early. I say, I'm here to meet you. What do you mean I'm here to meet you? I was like, my name's Joe Willis from HS Recruitment. I know you use recruitments, and I know you're blocking everybody. And you block everybody because you've decided, but you don't know that I'm this good. So I want to meet with you. Go, really? And he's got time in the morning. He said, yeah, let me just buy you a coffee. So I can't meet you tomorrow, but I'll bring, what's your favorite coffee? I'll come and, but you see, that's boldness for you. Because you've got to get with a decision maker. But this is about building your career, not just getting this job. Send your resume to as many friends as possible, relatives. 60% of all jobs are filled through relationships, not through the internet. Most are never advertised. People want to give you a job because they know you or are recommended by people. So I give the example of, how Megan Alder came over here from America. My daughter got a job at Sydney University, and they never even met her. All they said was, is she got a good character as you? She said, yes, she's hired. Wow. People want to know that you're got a certain type of character. And then, of course, take it to God. Pray about it all the time, over every application. Like when we're Christians, we pray before you phone somebody and invite them to church. God, help them be there, pick up the phone. Same way. It takes a lot of effort, but it has big impact. James 4:8, come near to God and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. James 5:16, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. So do you believe your prayer makes a difference on whether they pick up your resume? Make sure you're righteous. Don't let your sin affect your job search. Take time to fast and beg God. If it's a job that you really want and you're going for that interview, bring God into it. I know when I was a recruiter, I'd be out there every morning and go, God, I need to place a job. I need to succeed in this. Give me help. There's nothing wrong with that. Point 2, how to succeed in the interview. Succeeding in the interview. Mark 7:37, people were overwhelmed with amazement. He has done everything well, they said. He makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. So first of all, you must be prepared before you go to the interview. You can never be overdressed. You can be underdressed. Get a suit, a tie. Reduce clothes that are a fashion statement. It shows respect and keenness. So when I first became a Christian, I used to wear zoot suits. You know what that zoot suits is? All right, a zoot suit is where you have your pants up to here and then your jacket's down to here. Okay, if you watch Malcolm X, Spike Lee and Denzel Washington have them and stuff like that. They were what we're in. I thought they're really cool. I was in London and everyone wore a blue suit, okay, or a black suit. I'm like, no, I just want to be me. And I wasn't getting interviews. You wonder why. All right, I was taking Saturday night to Monday morning, all right? So you may think you look cool, but they're not after whether you look cool, unless, of course, you're in fashion and retail. First impressions and establishing a quick, good rapport are essential. To give a firm handshake, look the interviewer in the eye and smile. So do not crush his hand and get into I've had people go, and don't be pathetic, or don't go, do I not? Just go, good morning, sir. Okay? Be confident and enthusiastic. Have a good body language. Sit forward on the seat. Be eager to talk and engage. So you may not realize it, but you may go in there and you get really comfortable. Or sometimes they give you one of those leather seats that you just sort of slip down. You ever been in an interview? I'm like, holy moly, okay. I'll go, okay, sit on the edge. Always have bright, polished shoes. This is one thing I'd never give people a job. If they came in and they had like scuffed shoes, forget it. You know why? No attention to detail. No attention to detail. because somebody who's sharp always has polished shoes. Know the history of the company you're going to. Research the employer. Interviewer, yes, research the interviewer. Industry. Interviewers describe lack of company knowledge as the #1 top annoyances in interviewees. They knew nothing about the company. Learn to do your homework. Use their website. If they've got retail stores, go into their retail stores. Quote this information in the interview by saying things like, I noticed after researching your company that last year your profits were up compared to the year before. Could you tell me why that was? They'll go, I don't even know that. Okay. Then add a question. Be half an hour early to every interview. Why? First of all, they notice. They do. The receptionist will notice and say. But also, you might be late. There may be a bus or something like that. Brush your teeth just before. Classic. Oh, I'm really nervous. I'm going to go and have a coffee. All right? And then you have this coffee breath that just like comes out of them. They're like, and the only thing they remember is your coffee breath. Right? Take mints. You're laughing. It happens all the time. If you do meet at a cafe, be there early for an interview. Sometimes recruiters meet you at cafes and go, what would you like to drink? You buy the drink. To take 2 extra copies of your resume and hand them one straight away. So, good morning. Okay, here's my resume. I've already got one. Okay, well, just in case you hadn't. It's those little things. You may want to take a more fleshed out resume, rather than the basic one that you had. Well, this is the one with all the details on. If you can, take examples of your work. A portfolio that would be even better. So if you're an architect or anything like that, you go, I've also brought my portfolio if you want to have a look at it. If you're a chef, a portfolio of all your meals, etc. like that. Use a quality leather folder in your interview and take notes as they speak. This is something that really unnerves interviewers. So I get a nice leather folder and you open up and you sit there and you go, okay, great. What are you writing down? You say, well, I'm writing down the questions you want me to answer. I'm writing down your answers. They're like, oh, wow, this guy's really attentive. Most people come into interviews very unprepared. Try and have their company literature in the folder. So you open the folder and you have their project brochures in there or things like that. And they will really notice, okay? Print out some company reports from the internet and highlight the sections you want talked about. You might, well, I've noticed that in the last year you've done this. You go, well, it's only a reception job. Believe me, you are there to impress. Learn from every interview you fail. We can get really embarrassed about this. Call them up and ask them what you could have done better. That could even get you a job. All right? Thank them for your time. If this fails, email them. Go, look, I know I didn't get the job, but in order to be a better interviewee, please can you give me 2 points that I could do better? All right? You're starting to build an image in that person's mind. You may be interviewed by that person in 3 years' time in another job, and that's the sort of thing that they remember. Remember, you're building your career and your reputation. You're not just getting a job. Yeah. Point 3, answering and asking questions in interviews. Not all interviewers are good at recruiting or asking you the right question, so you need to be prepared for it. So I would recruit for maybe an engineering manager. He's a brilliant engineering manager, but he's a terrible recruiter. Okay, so that's why they use a recruitment agency. So I send them the people, all right, and nearly always they sit there and go, tell me about yourself. One of the worst questions an interviewer could say, right? Because then you go, well, I had oats for breakfast this morning and some strawberries. And literally, people do that. Okay, so you laugh. I've been in the industry a long time. You need to ask them, well, what exactly do you want to know? Do you want to know about my personal life, my career, my last position? So you must take control of the interview. All right, Proverbs 18:13 says, to answer before listening, that is folly and shame. So I've literally sent people into interview. The guy's gone to them, tell me about yourself. They said, I told them all about my life. Then I phone up the company and go, what do you think of him? He goes, all he did was talk about his life. And there's a whole miscommunication there. Because both ends of the situation I'm dealing with don't know what they're doing. Have set answers for questions you will be asked in advance. So people go, well, he asked me this, I didn't know what to say. That's your fault. Well, how was I know what he was going to say? You should have practiced. Okay, so why did you leave that last job? Okay, when people sort of ask that question, again, I've interviewed a lot of people, the best answer I've ever heard is, right, so this guy left a job after 3 months. He goes, well, we're all allowed one mistake, and that was mine. I thought, what a great answer. Proverbs 15:1, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So harshness we often associate with being loud or something, but a harsh word can be slanderous. And I thought, here's this guy, he hasn't slandered his old boss, and he hasn't slandered his company. I want to hire him. But, you get all these little questions. There are examples of over 100 typical questions you could be asked in OneNote after this, and the job hunting section under follow-up studies. But the truth is, you can Google them on the internet. And you should go through them, and you go, okay, he asked me this. I know I've already got that answer. And it gives you time to really go through it and give a great answer. So go with questions to ask your interviewers about their company, team, philosophy, and the role. Things like why the position has become available, and what is their staff turnover? What is the history of this position? How long has the interviewer been with the company, and why have they stayed? They sort of go, man, this is impressive. Remember, they are privileged to have you work for them, but they are privileged to have you work for them. Sometimes we just go, just give me a job, give me a job, give me a job. That's a very non-career mindset. You have to go there and interview them. You're asking, hey, is it worth me working for you? Okay, if you only stay there a few months, that could hurt your resume. It could hurt your career. So Proverbs 25 says, the purpose of a person's heart are deep waters, but the one who has insight draws them out. You need to go in there with confidence going, do I want this job? Is this what I really want? Not just, I'll be lucky to have it. People want confident people. Yeah. Let's talk about salary negotiations and closing the interview. Luke 16:8, for the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. So you will be asked normally for your salary expectations. Right? You need to have several great answers ready. In my field, which is sales, the best one I'd always use is, well, what would you pay your best performer? I would expect that as I expect to exceed that person's performance. All right? They're like, oh, dang. Well, I said, I didn't come here to fail. What's your top performer get? 90,000. Well, I expect that and bonuses because I'm going to earn them. And they're like, dang. But also they're thinking, right, I ought to give him 90 grand because he sounds like the guy that's going to earn me money. Others could be, I'm more interested in how quickly you can be promoted in this role and what I need to do for my next pay rise, especially if it's a role that's advertised that you really want. So you don't want to risk the pushiness, but you go, hey, I want them to know that I want a high expectation. Another could be, I'm presently looking at other roles that pay X amount of dollars, 80,000. As I'm excited for working for your company as a first choice, I was hoping your offer would be at least as much as that. Again, puts the pressure back on them. But honestly, it takes a lot of preparation to really succeed in a good interview. Close the interview. Before you leave the interview, always ask if they want to ask you any more questions. Are there any more questions you'd like to ask me? Because sometimes they sort of do, but they're a bit nervous, maybe because the time has gone on too long or something like that. Then ask if you could share some of your achievements that have not come to light in this interview, but I would believe would be of value. Have these prepared. I know we didn't talk about my sporting career, but I just want you to know I won 3 championships in this. I know you didn't ask about this job, but I want to tell you I got 3 promotions in that job. If you leave not having said it, they won't know it. Okay. Ask if there's any reason why they would not be employed by the company and what they are doing and what they are. So if you don't get the role, you can address this before reapplying for their excellent company. Does that make sense? So you go, hey, is there any reason I didn't get it? Okay, well, can you tell me why? Because I really want to work for this company in the future, and I want to be able to go and get that. So you've all watched things like the X Factor or Australia's Got Talent. Often they'll go, come back in 2 years. And they come back in 2 years, and then they go on and win it. It's that sort of principle. Ask if you get the role. When would you like me to start? As I'm keen to start and prove myself. Then ask when you should expect to hear from the company, and if they mind if you call them if you've not heard back from them. Okay? So you're taking more control. Always leave an interview standing up, looking the interview in their eyes, shaking their hand, and thanking them for their valuable time. All right? Follow up until you definitely don't have the job. Yeah. Okay? So one of my best jobs in this company called Willis had said they would get back to me in 3 days. And they didn't. And then I phoned them up and said, you said you get back to me in 3 days. Did I get the job? And they said, yes. And then when I got the job, I said, why didn't you phone me back? And she said, well, I wasn't quite sure whether you wanted the job, so I wanted to know if you really wanted it. All right, so here's me giving insecure, do they want me, do they not, da-da-da-da-da. And that was also part of the interview process. Also take into consideration, the interviewer could have gotten ill, okay, left the job, been fired, add all sorts of other reasons that they didn't get back to you, and you're sitting there going, they just didn't like me. And it's got nothing to do with you. So you've got to be forceful. Also, just because you didn't get the job does not mean the person they offered it to will start. So in a recruiter, they may use me and one other recruiter to fill a job. And then they go, we went with the other candidate, all right? I go, okay, well, when did he start? It starts in 2 weeks. Then I phone up the company and go, hey, did he start? Oh, no, he didn't turn up. But we get very wounded and we pull our heart back. So just because the person got the job, you go, well, I phone the company. Did he start? No. Or maybe he did. Phone 2 weeks. Is he still there? Because a lot of people leave in the first 2 weeks. And then phone in 3 months. Why? Because there's a 3-month review. And you're there, Johnny boy on the spot, going, man, you're like, well, I told you didn't. You picked the wrong guy. I'm the right guy. But this is all confidence. This is how to build a career. Conclusion. Getting and succeeding at interviews. Getting interviews. There's a real art to getting an interview. In other words, so if you just go, I'm not getting interviews, there's a lot more you can do. Succeeding in an interview, you've got to become great at it. We study the Bible with a lot of people. Just giving out the scriptures doesn't mean that you're going to be super effective. In the same way, you need to master an interview process. And then answering and asking questions in the interviews. Okay? One great question can change the whole interview. The whole interview. All right? And you need to be the person asking that. One answer can change the whole interview, so you need to have those answers written down beforehand so that you can answer correctly. So now let's finish doing our resumes and go get better jobs.
To hear more from Dr. Joe Willis, check out his 2 books on Amazon, The Art of Spiritual Warfare, Practicals for Becoming a Prayer Warrior, and Money is the Answer for Everything. Click the links in the description below. Also, for more life-changing lessons, subscribe to his YouTube channel, Dr. Joe Willis.